This is Horror Sucks, the podcast where we watch horror movies and tell you if they suck. But sometimes they don't, although today is not that day. I'm Ashley Atkins, your host with not the most.
Arguably the host with the least. Let's re-record that so I can call myself the host with the least.
You want to be the host with the least?
I want to be, yeah, otherwise it seems mean.
All right. This is Ashley Atkins, the host with not the most.
And this is Carter Rhodes, the host with definitely the least. So today we are doing an oft-requested fan favorite known as Terrifier 2, which I have been constantly calling Terrifiers 2. It's not that.
No.
I think my problem is I think all sequels should go through the naming system of the Alien franchise, where the first movie is singular, Alien. Second one is just Aliens. What's the third one? Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
So I think the Fast and the Furious should be Fast and Furious, the Fasts and the Furiouses, and then Fast and Furious Resurrection.
So now, alternately, Shrek should be Shreks, and Shrek the Resurrected? Or at that point at 3, you kind of resume your own titles because Shrek the Third is far, far away.
Okay, so here, by the way, we've been screwing this up. Here are the names of the movies in the Alien franchise. Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and then in order of being released, not chronologically, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, a to-be-announced Alien television series, and the Alien play. Alien Covenant is not as bad as people say it was. Okay. It wasn't great, but...
Okay, so then actually that would still work for Shrek, because you'd have Shrek, Shrek the Third would stay, and then there's a
Shrek Resurrection, Shrek versus Predator,
right.
Shrek versus Predator Requiem.
It would be Shrek versus Fairy Godmother or whoever. Like it would be...
Well, no, it's a crossover series, so what's a similar...
Right.
It would probably be another DreamWorks franchise.
Shrek versus How to Train Your Dragon.
Ooh, I like that.
So, but it would be like... So it would be like Shrek versus Dragon. Or something. It wouldn't be How to Train Your Dragon, but it would be
Shrek versus Hiccup.
Or Shrek versus Toothless.
I feel like Shrek would kill Hiccup, but...
Well, yeah, Hiccup's the person.
We'll find a different friend. Yeah, you'd just rip him in half and throw him into the tall grass. Anyway.
The point is, though, this is not Terrifiers.
It's just the one Terrifier.
But 2.
Which is actually kind of confusing because there is in fact a second Terrifier in this movie.
So really it should be called Terrifiers.
Yes. So
anyway,
we're finally through October.
Yeah.
We've done a pretty good job. I think we missed 1 week, but that wasn't a big deal. Irregardless.
We made it over the hump and now we're back to our normal. Eventually we'll be back to our normal. Delayed. Mm-hmm. Delayed on our end, not really for you. Yeah. There's no delay on your end.
Unfortunately, we're probably not going to be doing as recent movies anymore. We'll cover them as they come out, but they're going to be coming out less often.
I was going to say,
is all.
After Menu and Bones and all, the next horror movie is Megan, which doesn't come out till January. So we're going to have some fun other movies in between.
Megan is going to be such ass. It's going to be the worst movie I've ever seen. I can tell already.
It looks awful. I'm not looking forward. I am looking forward to the Menu. I'm not looking forward to Megan. Anyways, though, we can get back to Terrifier 2.
Just for those of you who don't know how this works, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a rundown of the plot. Usually we would give you a plot summary of the original as well, but we haven't seen it. So I would just be reading off of Wikipedia, and that doesn't sound fun for anyone.
We actually actively know that's not fun because Carter did that yesterday on the drive to the movie theater when we watched this, and he just deadpan reading it. Yeah. And I was like, what?
Well, you were driving, so
well, yeah.
I wasn't trying to make it like an experience for you. I was just trying to have it out loud so that you could hear it while you drove.
I listened to audiobooks. You could have...
I'm not doing the voices. Not for free. So anyway, after that, we're going to give you some fun facts about the movie because we have discovered that generally the worse a movie is, the more fun stories surrounding it. We're going to break down the movie in the good, the bad, and the spooky, give you some overall thoughts, the Joseph DeSasio Memorial Line highlight, rest in peace, by the way, And then we are going to tell you what we're watching next week, if there's time.
So, Carter, why don't you kick us off with the plot?
Okay, so here's a real quick summary of the original. There's a clown. His name's Art the Clown. He doesn't speak, and he kills people. And then he chews this woman's face off. And that's about it. So, the movie starts presumably right from the beginning of the last one, just contextually. Art is revived, and he kills the coroner. He appears to have been shot in the eye because he's missing his eye, so he cuts out the coroner's eye and puts it in his own. And he's all covered in blood, so what he does is he goes to the laundromat, strips down naked, and washes his clothes there. And while there, he meets a little pale girl who, similar to Art, doesn't speak, communicates mostly through gestures, and they seem to get along well. There's another man at the...
She also looks similar to him.
Well, they're both clowns.
Yeah.
Oh, did I not mention
You just said little girl.
Oh, yeah. She's like, same color scheme.
Yeah,
also a
same
clown.
clown aesthetic.
Also has a little top hat. Anyway, there's a guy at the laundromat who hears the noise of Art, like, clapping with her, and wakes up and sees Art with no one there. And he's like, that's weird. And anyway, he gets killed. So, a year later, it introduces Sienna and Jonathan, two high schoolers who live with their mom after their dad's death. I think Jonathan's actually in, like, middle school. But
yes, he's only 12.
Sienna has piercings. She's clearly 18.
She's got to be a senior in high school, yeah.
Sienna is making a Halloween costume in her room of this angel warrior, which is a character designed for her by her dad, who passed away recently. Jonathan, as many young children are, is interested in kind of the dark macabre and wants to dress as Art the Clown for Halloween, but that gets shot down pretty quickly. And then that's kind of that for the train of thought there. Sienna ends up having a nightmare about Art the Clown, and there's a fire on her dresser, which destroys the wings that she was making. Underneath the wings was a sword that the last thing her father bought her before his death. It was directly under the wings. It was like embers and stuff were falling on it. It was clearly destroyed. But then, when she's going through the stuff later, she sees it's untouched. The next day, Jonathan's at school. His friends find a dead possum and are poking it with a stick. And Jonathan's just going for a walk and sees Art the Clown and the little pale girl just playing with the dead possum. And they throw it at her. And so he's covered at him, and he's covered in blood, and everyone thinks he was the one who brought it into the building. He gets suspended and sent home. Sienna and her friend Allie. By the way, Sienna has a panic attack. I was in the bathroom when that happened.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about how the survivor from the attack the previous year attacked a talk show host. And
that was the end of the previous movie, I believe, which they're referring to.
Yeah. They were talking about it at lunch, and she has a panic attack because of all that's going on with Art the Clown related activity.
Mm-hmm. So Sienna goes to a nearby Halloween store to get wings to replace her costume. And while there, she runs into Art the Clown. And there's actually a pretty funny scene of Art just kind of messing with her. Like, she thinks he's just some dude dressed as Art the Clown, but he's like...
It's so good. This is like the best. I completely forgot about this scene.
Art is a really funny nonverbal character because he'll like... I can't really convey it, but he's messing around with the sunglasses and she keeps glancing over her shoulder because he's freaking her out.
And he has a different pair on each time.
And
with
a different
like
pose.
Yeah, it's so good. If you don't think we're doing that for a convention, you're wrong.
And so he finds this bike horn and like does the comical like creep, like cartoon creep walk behind her while she's trying not to look at him, and he puts the horn like right up to her ear and she's just like, please don't. And he's like, honk. It's just so funny. And then she leaves and Art kills the cashier. So Art ends up finding Sienna's friend Allie and kills her in a very gruesome way. That's it. that was the extent of her character. So Sienna and her friend Brooke can't get a hold of Allie, but they're like, we're not letting the night go to waste. Let's go to a bar. Meanwhile, Jonathan gets into a fight with his mother and leaves the house. She is immediately afterwards killed by Art. And when Jonathan returns, Art drugs him and takes him to the local carnival. Brooke spikes Sienna's drink with Molly.
Brooke is Sienna's other friend.
Yes. At first, Sienna seems to enjoy the Molly, but then she sees the pale girl, and no one else seems to see her. So she has a panic attack at the party, and they take her home.
Also, the big deal was she took Xanax before the party.
Which, like...
Because she had a panic attack.
Yeah, it's a totally reasonable thing.
Prescribed Xanax.
I was actually going to make fun of this movie because it made it look like it was antipsychotics, and for the millionth time, there are no reactive antipsychotics that you take when you're like, oh shit, I just saw something.
No.
You take them on a schedule. Xanax is actually a reactive medicine. You take that when you feel stressed, and it makes you not feel stressed.
Yes.
So anyway, on the drive home, she gets a call from Jonathan saying that he's trapped at the carnival, but we discover that it's actually the little pale girl on Jonathan's phone mimicking his voice, luring her to the carnival. So Sienna goes looking for Jonathan, and Brooke and her boyfriend are killed by Art. And while he attacks Sienna and her brother, Sienna eventually manages to overpower Art and take his weapons, but he keeps being resurrected, and eventually he manages to get her in the basement, where he stabs her with her own sword, and she's dropped into a hole in the ground, which is like implied to be hell, or the afterlife rather. And then when she falls in, she ends up in this like alternate dimension where it's this commercial for
from her dream.
Yeah, from her dream, and she's trapped in a water tank, and we know it's metaphorical because I'll explain that in a second. So she's seemingly dead, and Art goes to eat Jonathan. Sienna drowns in her like water tank, but the sword starts glowing, and her stab wound is healed. She comes back to life, and she climbs out of the hole in the ground, not wet. So that was symbolic what was happening there.
Yeah.
She uses her sword to decapitate Art, and the little pale girl appears, and you think there's going to be a fight, but she just takes Art's head and leave. And then in the post-credit scene that Ashley and I tried to escape, but unfortunately weren't fast enough, we see Vicky from the previous movie in an asylum giving birth to Art's living head. And that was Terrifier 2.
All right, here's some fun facts. So, this movie was written, directed, edited, and produced by Damien Leone, which when I read that originally, it just felt like me and Carter whenever we refer to the podcast, because we are all of the things.
We do everything.
It stars David Howard Thornton and Laura Lavera. The budget for the film was $250,000, and it made $10.6 million in the box office, which is pretty good, I would say. Laura Vieira did her own stunts in the movie. She's trained in martial arts. Stephen King gave it a shout out on Twitter saying, Terrifier 2, grossing you out old school. As reported on his podcast.
I think we've talked about this before, but the Stephen King compliment is virtually worthless.
I know.
He will first of all, he'll compliment his own adaptations. He's like, wow, Under the Dome is really good. I'm like, no, it's not, dude. Shut the fuck up.
You know for a fact he's not doing his own tweets.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know about that.
You think he is?
He's probably not doing it 100% of the time, but he'll get into arguments that don't make him look great.
Oh, that's a good
he was
point.
Arguing with Elon Musk after he bought Twitter. He
I know he doesn't do his own
tweets a bunch
Facebook.
of political stuff.
Okay, that's a good point.
Stuff I would say, but like if someone tried to speak for me and do it, I would fire them.
Okay.
So I do
That's
think
a good
he does
point.
some of it.
Yeah.
And I certainly think he does his recommendations.
That's fair. Anyways, as reported on his podcast with guest Corey Taylor, Chris Jericho has a role in the film. He is, I don't know, do you know who Chris Jericho is?
No clue.
Oh, he's a wrestler.
Okay. Oh wait, yeah, I know Chris Jericho.
Yeah, he's a wrestler, and
Wild.
he's in the post-credits scene. He's one of the nurses.
Oh shit, yeah.
So, fun fact about Chris Jericho: he's currently on The Masked Singer. I think he's one of the masked singers on.
So he's potentially the titular Masked Singer, but we don't know that for a fact. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's fact, but it is not confirmed.
So just to be clear, you don't watch wrestling, though.
No.
How much would you say you know about Chris Jericho?
I know that he's on The Masked
Okay, what leads you to believe that if you know so little about him?
Okay.
What do they? So they tell you a little bit about him like.
There's a clue package.
Okay, yeah. So what are the clues?
So
for Chris
the clue
Jericho?
package. So first of all, this character I'm referring to on The Masked Singer is called the Bride. It is a dinosaur in a bride's dress.
Sure.
And first clue walking in is crushes rocks. So I'm like, a wrestler.
Okay.
So, and then just like a bunch of clues from wrestling. All of the judges think it's a wrestler. So I was like, all right, wrestlers that sing. Look up. Chris Jericho does have some songs that he's put out. Mm-hmm. But then also I went to YouTube and look at everyone else's guesses, and they also say it's Chris Jericho. So
Okay. I will just say that WWE has way too much singing in it. The Rock, before he became famous enough to not have to do this, used to sing his favorite song, "Viva Rock Vegas."
Stop.
That's not a joke.
That's not a joke.
Yep.
Well, I mean, The Rock's like entrance song was a soundbite on Twitter, on TikTok for a while. Mm-hmm. So that is a good point. But
God. Yeah. So,
but anyways, I think it's Chris Jericho.
Okay, that seems tenuous to me that a singer says that they crush rock and everyone's like, Chris Jericho, baby.
There was a lot more clues that I can't think off the top of my head.
All right.
Because I don't pay that close attention. But
I agree that it sounds like a wrestler, but it easily might not be.
I think you have to watch the performance.
Crushes rock just as easily could be a reference to rock music or...
Sure, you're absolutely right.
Or an actor's movie role.
You're absolutely right, but there was definitely a lot more wrestler clues in the clue package. This wasn't even part of the clue package. This was part of the making the entrance little side facts. And you have to listen to the performance, because I also listened to the songs and listened to the performance. It was not a good performance.
Robin Thicke is a...
Yeah, the judges are Robin Thicke, Jenny McCarthy, Ken Jeong, and Nicole Scherzinger. They have and the host is Nick Cannon. Listen, this show is off its rocks.
That's bananas combination.
Yeah. Yes, that is the whole point. It is a bananas combination. And then they have all-star guests. So, for example, Ken couldn't be on that episode, so they had Leslie Jordan. They pre-record everything.
Sure.
But they had Leslie Jordan, who's been a guest before. Kevin McHale comes on quite a bit, too.
They say that the singer has a male voice. He said the bride has an accent.
That was fake.
Okay.
You could tell it's fake.
Okay. A rose, a globe wearing a crown, a snake, music notes, a mail that says action hero, and I'm a take action kind of bride. I have no problem playing the hero. If you tell me it's Chris Jericho, sure. There's absolutely nothing there that suggests, even points to him. Like,
you have to listen to the song and listen to the bride.
Have you heard him sing?
I have, since I looked it up.
All right.
I said, I have to confirm this. Let me listen to the two side by side.
Okay.
I'm not just baselessly going off of this. Okay. Come on, Carter.
Okay. So anyway, Chris Jericho was in it. Keep going.
Yes. Okay. So Leone stated in an interview with Bloody Disgusting's podcast, The Boo Crew, that the actor who plays Art the Clown was very active in writing Art's character, and that they spent all of the pandemic brainstorming kills and kind of reworking some of the kills from the previous movie as well.
The Terrifier 2 filming was interrupted due to the pandemic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the movie was reportedly so violent and gory that people have been vomiting, fainting, and inside of movie theaters. In some instances, even ambulances had to be called.
Mm-hmm. Ash and I talked about this, and we are convinced that it either didn't happen or happened once somewhere.
I was going to say it happened so few times, but because it happened, people are commenting on it.
That just since the dawn of horror movies, people have been like, and this movie's so scary, people are passing out in theaters. And I'm just, it's just never actually that scary.
No. So Art's face makeup is similar to Marcel Marceau, who was a legendary mime. So the movie is almost an hour longer than the original Terrifier, and the uncut version is considerably longer. I kind of want to. I don't think I want to see the uncut version, actually.
Yeah. I might want to.
Yeah.
But not like covering it for the podcast.
No, just for enjoyment purposes.
Maybe. I'm curious what considerably they could have added.
I would like to see a compilation of what was cut from the movie.
Yes,
I don't think I want to rewatch the movie to see the uncut options.
Absolutely, yeah. I want a separate movie that has all of the cutscenes.
Exactly. So when it was released in theaters, it didn't have an MPAA rating, but most theaters gave it an R, so that people under 17 couldn't see it without a parent or guardian.
Are you allowed to do that? Just as a theater say, yeah, it's an R, whatever. That doesn't sound
I don't
right.
know. I do know that when I was buying tickets, I had to include my email so that they could verify I was over 17. But there was no rating on the movie, so...
It makes sense to me if it's unrated and they just didn't, and they treated it like an R movie.
I think that's what they're saying.
Oh, okay, because that doesn't seem like you should be able to be like, yeah, sure, it's R, why not?
It says, given a self-implied.
Okay, yep, that makes a lot more sense.
So now we're getting into some spoilers here. If you haven't already...
Yeah. We already said the plot, Ashley.
So the acid that Art uses... that Art took from the morgue and later threw on Brooke's face is fluoromantic acid, which is known as a super acid and one of the strongest acids in the world, and coming into direct contact with it will likely kill you. Although Art is silent like before, there's a scene where he's forcing a door open to get to Jonathan, and he can be heard growling and grunting while breaking down the door. Which I did notice.
I didn't, actually.
Leone stated that the most complex kill scene to shoot was the Allie kill scene in the bedroom. In the ending scene where Allie's mother discovers Art mutilating her body, Leone built a life-size animatronic dummy of Allie. The whole room was a built set while operators used rods under the bed and behind the walls to move it. He used rubber gloves with tubing in her chest to make her appear to be breathing. There's also more about this, but while the film's effects are 99% practical, Director Leone stated that he did use digital effects in certain scenes. When in the costume shop, when he kills the guy behind the desk, they had the actor's face digitally put onto a fake head.
I did notice that.
You noticed that?
Well, I noticed that it looked different from shot to shot, and I couldn't tell if that was either when they replaced the actor with a dummy or if they started doing CGI, but I just noticed the quality difference.
Yeah, this was to show the eyeball opening and closing and the face twitching. And then digital effects were also used in the bedroom scene. They digitally put the actress's real eyeball on the dummy, so when she wakes up, the eye opens, which, I don't know. And then, lastly, in one of the newspaper articles about Art the Clown, a report published is by a Wes Torrance, and they think this is a nod towards Wes Craven, who we know and love dearly.
Here's to you, Wes. That was a Scream reference.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk about the good. The good. Dun, dun, dun. I thought that the best part of this movie, easily, was Art the Clown.
Oh, yeah.
He was really funny. He was creepy in, admittedly an over-the-top way, but it came back around. He was a murder clown.
For sure.
He didn't look like a clown that was killing people. He looked like a man who was like, how do I make the spookiest costume possible?
It was done perfectly.
And he was just so funny with his nonverbal stuff. And really good at conveying, what he was trying to say.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen, such expression come out of someone who doesn't speak a single word.
Mm-hmm. The main characters were also, and this is something you don't see a lot in horror, they were pretty likable.
Yeah.
Sienna was really, really good at making the costume. She seemed nice enough. Jonathan was originally played to seem like kind of a creep, but you could tell by the way he interacted with his friends who were poking the possum. He was telling them to stop when they tried to gross a girl out and bring her over. He told them to stop, and he clearly felt bad about it.
I think this movie did a really great job of keeping the characters simple to be relatable and understandable.
Agreed, yeah. I quite liked them.
It made me like them a lot, yes.
I would have been disappointed if one of them died, because I did like them.
This is a first, I think, in a while that we'd be upset if someone died.
Yeah.
I really liked that it felt very old school, as Stephen King said. But it did. It felt very classic. And I really liked it. You know, it was very nonsensical. And you kind of just had to enjoy it for what it was. You couldn't make sense of it, which sometimes is called for, I think, you know. I also liked that it did not hold back the gore. When I, you know, am told, oh, this movie's going to be gory, that's the level I want. So I was also very pleased with both of those.
I really enjoyed the quality of the special effects. Is they really took care with, like, anatomy and stuff. Like, there's a scene in which they, there's a lot of scenes, and I have complaints about this, where they're, they'll cut someone's stomach open and like, start pulling stuff out. And it clearly isn't just, like, random, just shit that they found that they're like, yeah, this will look like hot dogs. They're like, yeah, this is gonna look like intestines. Is they probably either used real animal gore, which I doubt, or
I don't think so.
Put a lot of work into designing really good looking prosthetics.
We would know if they used animal gore because that would have been in the facts. Like, I didn't see that.
I guess you're right.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
I think they just took a lot of care into making it look realistic.
The movie will kill off, like, seemingly main characters like Allie in, like, super gory scenes, and the mom. And I liked that because it did a good job of making the characters feel mortal.
Yeah.
I believe the original movie might have done that.
Yeah.
Where the survivor was not the, like, original main character. They made it feel like I truly didn't know if they could kill Sienna and Jonathan up until a certain point.
I thought one of them was going to die.
At a certain point, I was like, yeah, no, they're gonna bring her back to life. This is dumb. But
speaking of Sienna and Jonathan, I liked their dynamic. They felt very believable as siblings, and it, you know, I feel like sometimes they play up of tropes of siblings of, oh, they either like each other or they don't, and like that's it. And I felt this was just perfectly in the middle. Like, he comes into her room and is like, oh, he's like, oh, you're doing a really good job with this costume, but also like kind of dishes on her a little bit, but not really. It just was like, this is an interaction between me and my brother.
Yeah. Some of the gore was really well done, not just like in terms of the quality of the effects, but like there's an eye scene where he pulls out the guy's eye. There's a scene where he like starts stabbing some dude's penis. It was good at getting under your skin, even beyond the disgust factor. That was...
I liked that. I actually really did like the cold open. I thought, as someone who didn't see the first one, it set the scene perfectly. And also, including that, I felt like it perfectly framed the backstory of what we missed in the original. Because I have a feeling they knew that a lot of people wouldn't see the first one and just go for the second one in theaters. So they were like, all right, we have to give just enough information that's they know what's happening, and that's it. And I felt like it did a good job.
I liked the clown song. The lyrics were...
Don't do this to me.
I'm not going to sing it, but it was like this clown cafe that I don't think even existed. I think it was just a dream. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, she saw it on a commercial. But, like, it just had it's really entertaining lyrics. And it wasn't inherently creepy. Like, you'll see that a lot in the horror where they're, like, they try to play this, like, lullaby. Or there's one movie, I can't remember which one, but it's in the Conjuring cinematic universe where... they're like, you are my sunshine. And I'm like, come on.
Oh, American Horror Story does this.
A lot of horror movies will pick, like, a creepy song and be like, ooh, look how creepy it is. This one, it was catchy, it was funny, and it was a little creepy, but only because it was associated with horror, which is how I think it should be. If I heard that song in my day-to-day life, I would just be like, oh, that's pretty catchy. But it's creepy because it was associated with Art the Clown. I liked the parallel of, in one scene, Art is creating, like, this weapon. He's nailing bits of knives and forks into a giant club. And while that's happening, Sienna is building her own armor for the costume. And I liked that parallel. Do you have anything else?
I mean, the quality of the film was intentionally bad at some points, and I kind of liked it because I got the aesthetic they were going for.
What do you mean the quality?
Like it felt like it was kind of blurry in moments or things
Okay.
like that, where it's just like, it didn't really take me out of the film. It just kind of increased the aesthetic of this is supposed to look a little bit more aged.
Okay.
And I liked it.
I don't actually remember any of those.
That's okay.
Okay.
I liked it. I noticed it.
So there's one scene in which Brooke's boyfriend goes up to like scare her, and he's wearing a ghost costume, and he has his glasses on the outside. I don't know with absolute certainty because I haven't had a chance to rewatch it, but I believe that that's a reference to Halloween. I think in Halloween, I remember one of the characters wore a ghost costume and put his glasses on the outside.
I don't know. All I do know is that TikTok trends every October with people wearing ghost costumes and sunglasses.
Right, but these were regular
Oh,
glasses.
they were regular
Yeah.
glasses? Oh, I have no idea.
And then my final good thing about this movie is there's a scene in which Sienna pours some coffee and is talking to her mom, and then like moves her arm and spills coffee, and her mom offhandedly mentions it. I'm pretty sure that actress accidentally spilled coffee. Is it just she had a look of like, oh shit?
I forgot to put this in my notes because this was one of my favorite parts, because then she spills things more than once. I don't know if you noticed when they were at the club and they got drinks, and she immediately gets them, spills the shot of whiskey and her drink at the same time. And I was like, why are you moving once you get a shot, first of all? Second of all, like, dang, this girl cannot keep liquids in a glass.
Yeah.
Like,
She needs a sippy cup. So, are you ready to talk about the bad?
I am. The bad.
Okay. So, my probably biggest complaint about this movie, and it's not, I don't know if it's super fair, but it was gory for the sake of being gory. Like, way, way over the top. If you want to make
They milked it.
Yeah, like, they would have some gory scene where he'd kill someone, and then he would, like, just start playing with the guts in a way where I'm like, come on, you already got the spooky scene in. Let's not.
I loved it.
It's a
No
little
complaint.
masturbatory of like, look how good a job we did with the gore. Let's play around with it.
That's fair. Alternatively, Art the Clown is so sick that he can't just kill. He has to really get into it.
Well, that's what I enjoyed the alley death scene.
Yeah.
Is like he was just really just having a blast with it. I thought it was a little entertaining. But then her still being alive was just like this.
You're right. If
this
she
is
was
stupid.
dead and he was still doing that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this
Yeah.
is more enjoyable. Her being alive was.
They're just bending what they think is believable just to try to be gory.
Yeah. On that note, I felt some moments were a little ridiculous, just in general. And not like the parts that were supposed to be funny. It just, I don't know. For the most part, it really didn't take me out of it. But at some moments, for example, the ending scene where she gives birth to Art the Clown's head, I was like, what is the point? What is the purpose? This is unnecessary. It doesn't set up a sequel, even though that's what people are saying. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I thought the plot was way too, like, fantasy magical in a very stupid way.
Yeah.
Like, her sword not being burned. Worse than it being fantasy magical was how immediately obvious the plot was with its fantasy magic. It's like, they're like, the sword hasn't been burned. Like, Dad was dreaming of Art the Clown and he created this character. Maybe you're meant to stop it. It was so early in the movie, we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, the sword, it was unambiguously magical. Like, the sword would glow red and it would heal her wounds. It was just out of place.
The sword plot itself was I don't know. It just made no sense. The fact that the sword glowed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I actually liked the glow effects because it was very Hellraiser. Like, I saw it and immediately thought of the box shooting out lightning.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was... It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It was really conceptual at times, like when she falls into the hole in the basement in the clown dimension. We don't need... What does that represent? Death? Why do we need that?
It felt very out of place.
And on top of that, she's dying in this thing that's a metaphor for death.
Yeah.
Like, she's drowning there. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't really get that at all. That was the point where I was taken out of it, but like, wait, what's going on? Up until that point, I was like, I'm kind of enjoying like this. This is pretty good. And then I was like, oh, what?
Up until that point, I had truly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page. I kind of am a little annoyed with this movie, though.
How so?
They didn't wrap up the biggest storyline, which was about the dad. Well, actually, the whole thing of the dad being mentioned so much that he's clearly an important figure in their lives, that we're given a decent amount of backstory, and then nothing. Are they trying to imply that he's Art the Clown? That's my assumption, but I want it to be fed to me in a spoon. I want to know if he's Art the Clown or not. And I was really pissed off that I don't get any... If he's not Art the Clown, that's fine. If he is, okay. But, like, don't tell me that he, potentially died in a fire, but they never actually found his body, and then that he was getting psychotic because he had a brain tumor by the end, and not tell me that this is actually their father. Like, give me some closure.
Yeah. A lot of this movie, I mean, yeah, that it was terrible that they're like, yeah, he saw the future because he had a brain tumor. Like, come on.
Exactly, too. He saw the future. No, if he is Art the Clown, he was just imagining things that he was going to do. Mm-hmm. Like,
I would have enjoyed, actually, if they hadn't explicitly shown any magic, because then Art the Clown, there's a lot of different explanations. Maybe he was drawing something from his nightmares that happened to look like Art the Clown. Maybe Art the Clown had already been mentioned when he started drawing it, and he was just drawing something he was afraid of. And then the character was just a coincidence. Like, she was wearing the costume when she fought Art the Clown. It wasn't like he prophesied it.
Yeah, I think, exactly. There was a little bit too much magic to it versus just, like, implied coincidence. Mm-hmm. You're right. I would have been fine if they weren't pushing it so hard.
A lot of this movie is, like, Sienna and Jonathan lying down. And, like, everyone's pretty passive a character. Things just happen to them quite a bit. Like, even before Art the Clown starts attacking them, Sienna is drugged by someone. She didn't make that decision. Jonathan has the possum thrown at him. Brooke is, like, not forced to, but, like, pushed to do drugs. Doesn't even really make that decision. There's just so much of that, of the characters, are things happening to them. And it's worst in combat scenes when there's like a full 2-minute thing, which doesn't sound that long until you actually count out 2 minutes of her and her brother just getting whipped on the floor. And I'm like, come on, do something!
I was waiting to bring up this whipping scene, because not only that, they're lying on their stomachs as they're getting whipped from behind by Art the Clown, and
I'm like, yeah, wow, bet that hurt. Can we move this along?
Yeah, it was not good.
Sure seems painful. I get what you're saying. Let's keep it going. The clown girl is really inconsistent. Like, they explicitly show in the beginning that only Art sees her.
Right, she's not real.
And then she'll, like, interact with people. She'll talk with the voice copying, which I thought was stupid. I'm gonna get into that in a second. But it just was really inconsistent. I think they were trying to imply that Sienna and Jonathan could see her and no one else could, but that was dumb.
They could see her.
I know they could, but I mean, they were implying that nobody else could, which
makes no sense.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I liked the idea of only Art could see her at the beginning. I thought that was like perfect framing for something cool, and then it
would humanize him as something kind of
something's wrong with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, more than just he's a bloodthirsty killer. Something's wrong with him. Is he's mentally unwell?
Yes, that's more what I meant.
Yeah.
No, exactly, but
especially if she didn't talk either,
right?
Because that
makes sense.
It means it's internal, whatever he's doing that isn't speaking. It was a bummer. And then on top of that, the voice copying didn't build up to anything. It wasn't teased. It just, that one scene, she copied Jonathan's voice. It just seemed like the writers needed that.
Yeah, it made no sense. I wish it was the only reason for it was they needed a reason for her to go to the carnival. But if that's the case, they could have just texted her like they did after the fact.
There was so many different ways they could have cleverly done that, and they picked a really uninteresting way.
Yeah. I thought some of the practical effects were not the best. Specifically, when Allie is awake in her bedroom. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this scene extensively, but you know, clearly they used a dummy. We can tell that it's not a real person. And the eye that's digitally affected in, you can tell. It looks out of place. It doesn't make any sense. I did not like that.
Agreed, yeah.
It was, listen, as a dead person he was playing with, it looked good. Once it started moving and looking, it was not good.
Every single character, except for Sienna and Jonathan, is unlikable. Like, the mom's always yelling at them. Jonathan's friends are jerks and creeps. Sienna's friends are just straight up terrible people. Like, they drugged her.
Brooke is a terrible person.
Yeah. Well, Allie wasn't around long enough.
Yeah.
She really put her foot in the ground on not giving a random clown man candy, which I thought was weird.
That was a weird...
Just give him a bit of candy.
Right, he's gonna go away.
Who gives a shit? Like, someone feels excited enough to dress up as Halloween. Power to you.
People who get upset about...
There's no rules to trick-or-treating.
Adults or, like, older children going trick-or-treating, like, give it a rest.
It's goddamn candy. This isn't like you're giving out Christmas presents and it takes thought and energy. It's not
like they even had like full-size candy bars. They'd be like, dang, this was like $3 that I'm gonna give to this man versus a child. There was like dum-dums.
Yeah.
And like cheap candy.
Yeah.
Also, let's get back to Sienna's friend drugging her at the party.
That was fucked up.
That was
And then on top of that, on the ride back, she started yelling at her for having a panic attack in the club. She's like, Sienna, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, this is not how you deal with a friend who has a panic attack.
Also, you drugged her.
And then her defense was just a little bit. Like,
and then
not even half a dose.
And she was like, oh, I didn't know you were on Xanax. It's like,
that's why you don't drug someone.
I was livid in the because also she was like, yeah, I don't want to get too drunk, like I don't want to drink too much, like I can't do that to my mom. And her friend was like, oop, I wanted you to have a good time, so I gave you Molly. And I will say, actually, the actress did a really good job of conveying that she was not drunk and that she was on drugs.
One of my notes of it was like, this isn't how alcohol works. I'm not convinced they've ever had a drink in their life.
I was thinking the exact same thing, and then as soon as she was like, no, you're on Molly, and I was like, oh, yeah. I thought that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
I was like, this is how Molly works. This is how alcohol works. So there's some dumb exposition that I didn't even write. I didn't even elaborate on that. I just put dumb exposition. It was pretty, I think it was in the beginning talking about like Art the Clown killing people. I was like, yeah, we get it. Just contextually, we can figure it out as soon as he's in the morgue missing a head, like part of his head. We just can figure out there was a battle. It's fine.
Yeah.
Second, the debate between Sienna and her mother about like, I believe Jonathan. I don't think he like brought that possum into the school. It's just wasted time because we know it wasn't him.
Right.
I don't really care what the mom thinks. I already know the truth.
He could be grounded and, like, that's it. They don't need to elaborate on it too much.
Yeah. And then a lot of the filming was kind of amateur work. Like, there's a scene in which Sienna goes to open the door, and then it cuts to her friend opening the door, but it's just not clear that it was her friend. I was just like, wait a minute. Was this... This wasn't Sienna a moment ago. What the fuck is happening?
One thing I do want to talk about, and I know you're going to disagree on me with this, which is fine. Sienna's costume. I don't have the issue with the fact that it looked bad. It looked gorgeous. I had the issue with the fact that, no mother is going to let their 18-year-old daughter out of the house in this over-sexualized costume.
She looked like what people make fun of, like, girl armor looking like, where they're like, man armor, and he's a full night suit. It's like girl armor, it's just like a bra with, like, chainmail straps. It looked like that. And I was like, your dad made this for you?
Yeah, it was awful. And I was just like, huh? You know, at least, like, do the thing that people do, that kids do, where they put on leggings underneath it, throw on a sweatshirt so mom doesn't see, go out, and then take it off. Like, you could be a little more realistic than just mom being like, you should not wear that. Your boobs are practically popping out. And she's like, this is how people dress. And she's like, okay, dad would be so proud of you. And I was like,
wait a minute. That's a super gross thing to say. She was like, clearly bummed that her mother, the first thing she said was about how sexual it was, because she spent a lot of time on it, and it was like about her dad. So she goes, like, before her daughter left, she goes, dad would have been really happy to see that. It wasn't like she's like, your tits are out, dad would have been so happy to see you.
All right, you're right. There was a little bit of time hesitation.
It was a separate thought that she had.
Yeah, but it just was so gross.
Honestly, my biggest issue with the outfit was that she was painting it in her room. I don't know if you've ever done any crafts ever, but you don't do it in your fucking room. She had like a spray paint gun.
The spray paint gun in the room was wild.
I'm not complaining that she was like carving styrofoam or something. She had a spray paint thing. She was painting wings in a not ventilated area with candles burning.
Okay, the freaking candles burning too.
Yeah.
What? She had like 5 candles on an altar under these feather wings. What did you think would freaking happen? I'm sorry. As someone who doesn't have candles in their room, like, man, I don't know. I have crafted in my room before, but you're right. I've never used spray paint in my room.
Yeah.
That's right. Also, she holds up this like little piece of cardboard tube behind the wings to spray paint in her bedroom, and I was like, that's not even gonna help.
Yeah. And then my last biggest issue, and this is a new one, is her mom worked in insurance, and she was just saying the most nonsense insurance buzzwords I've ever heard. She's like, oh, we don't provide insureds with that. Maybe we could connect you with a broker in your area. I was like...
Every time I heard insurance, all I could think of was you, and just like... I was like, I wonder what Carter thinks of this.
It wasn't incorrectly used. It was just like, it honestly felt like when cops are like, hello, kids, are you selling any marijuana cigarettes today? I'm a hip and not a narc. It just was like, yeah, I mean, you just fucking broker in your area. Is she talking to clients?
Yeah,
she wouldn't be setting up clients with agents. That clients find their own agent.
All right. Anyways, is that it?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Good. That's it for me too.
Right.
Let's move on to the spooky.
Okay. The spooky.
Ooh. So, I'll start. You have more points than me.
I have 3 points, by the way. That's what Ashley saw and was intimidated by.
I have 2 points. You have more points than me.
Fair.
My first thing is that it's gory. You know.
I have that.
But my second thing that I think was spooky, there was a particular moment where after he kills Allie's mom, but we don't actually see it. But then he opens the door to trick-or-treaters, and it's the mom's head hollowed out full with candy, with like blood dripping down it. And
that was a really, really good shot.
yeah, it was so good.
And the kids are taking the candy, and the girl's like, mine's sticky, and the mom's like, it's fake blood, like it's corn syrup, it's sticky. And I'm like, yeah, actually, if I went to some dude's house and he did that, I'd be like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It was great. It was so good. That was probably one of my favorite scenes, but I thought it was so spooky just seeing him holding the mom's head full of candy as the kids are trick-or-treating.
Doing his silent bit of silently fawning over the kid's outfit.
Yeah, and then one kid tries to take another and he slaps the hand away.
Yeah, that was
funny. So good.
My two remaining spooky points were the eye scene and the penis scene, just because those were...
I was thinking the eye scene, but I knew you would do it.
Yeah, it just... Instead of just being gross gore, it like... I don't know how to describe it. It touched on like a real freaky part of...
You described it already, right?
Yes,
okay,
I did.
When he popped the eyeball into his own socket, kind of did like a mimey thing with it. But then was
like, how do I look kind of gesture.
And then just popped it back out. I was like, dang, what is going on?
And then I thought the penis scene was very over the top when he's like, because I don't know if I explained exactly what happened, but her boyfriend's peeing and...
Brooke's boyfriend.
Yeah, he has a shirt that says just the tip on it. And Art just starts stabbing his dick. Cuts it off, and like she's locked the door, she's hiding in there, and he slams it against the window and starts rubbing it in like this circle of blood. That was, to me, that was the right amount of gore, of like horrific. He's playing around with it, but it's not too bad.
No.
So, overall thoughts.
I didn't hate this movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was entertaining. It gave me all the gore I could ever want. Is it a thought-provoking conceptual movie? No.
It's fun.
But it's fun. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's a great background movie to have on when hanging out with friends that can handle this level of gore. Mm-hmm. There is a little bit of a caveat there.
Yeah.
Any extra thoughts?
You mostly covered it. It's really high quality effects.
Yeah.
Art really does carry it with his silent charisma, but I heard the first movie was knocked for just kind of being violence for a while without any coherent plot.
Yeah.
This is a separate issue where it tries too hard to follow like a Hollywood style plot line, and it should have separated a little bit, because most horror is just kind of set up and then chaos.
Yeah.
And it should have stayed with that, is like Sienna goes to the carnival and then chaos, instead of Sienna has the magic sword, which blah blah blah.
That just wasn't barely part of the plot, but also a huge... I don't know. I agree with you.
It seems to have almost the exact same issues with the original. By the way, just going off what Wikipedia said, I haven't seen it. This isn't my opinion. But I've heard that the original was praised for the effects and for Art's acting, and just hated on by its writing... And just about everything else about the movie.
One of my facts I excluded was that the writer took a lot more consideration about the fact that there was no plot in the original, pretty much, and that he wanted to make a plot. And he did that, but then he took it a little too far.
Yeah.
I think he needs to...
Terrifier 3 is going to probably be the, like, this porridge is just right kind of movie.
I hope so. Although, do we really want a Terrifier 3?
No, I don't. It's just gonna be.
I want more Art the Clown. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
Although
this is one of the few movies in which I would actually be intrigued in a prequel.
Yeah.
I am truly intrigued about Art.
If it's not the dad, which I really hope it's not.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be. I want a prequel backstory of Art the Clown, him going to clown school, whatever it is.
But he can't talk at any point.
Right.
I don't want him to say anything.
No. I want it to remain himself exactly. How did he get to this gruesome, violent killer?
Yeah.
But, like, a lot more of this fun pantomiming creepiness.
I like the idea of him starting off just as supernaturally powerful. Like, he still can't be killed, but he's just not violent yet.
Yeah.
He's, like, just going to clown school and stuff, and, like, just starts to take an interest in killing people.
Like, he accidentally pushes someone off the roof.
Like, he was a god and then discovered he was a god who enjoys killing.
Exactly. I would enjoy that movie.
Yeah. Especially because it sounds extra, campy and fun, and that was the best parts of this movie.
Yes, for sure. All right, what did you rate it?
I rated it...
Do we have a quote?
Yes. The quote is... From Art the Clown.
Wait, we gotta get a video of you doing the pantomime.
Anyway, the dialogue in this movie honestly wasn't really good enough to merit a quote other than anything Art the Clown did.
I don't think the dialogue was bad though. It
was just plain.
It was normal.
I would have brought it up if I hated it. It just wasn't a strong point.
No.
So I rated this movie Terrifier 5 versus Predator Requiem 5 out of 10.
I hate that so much. I gave it a 6.5 freaky adult children at the Clown Cafe.
Okay, that's not bad.
No.
Yeah, like we didn't hate it. It wasn't great, but
it's not going to be a movie where I'm going to be like, oh, it's October, we got to watch Terrifier 2 again.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh, we've got this party going on. Why don't we throw on Terrifier 2 for our friends to torture our friends?
It would... I want to say it'd be a good movie to, like, just play in the background, but the gore actually would probably bring down the party a little bit.
It depends on the party.
Like, maybe, like, a full-on Halloween party where you've got, like, brain jello or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be... People have to be in the mood for gore.
Right.
All right.
So, that's all of my thoughts on the matter. Did you have a movie for next time?
Next time it's going to be Menu.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Love Anya Taylor-Joy. I think what fascinates me the most about Anya Taylor-Joy is her accent, because she has such a perfect American accent when she needs to in anything she's in.
Yeah.
Like, I truly, honest to God, didn't know she was from anywhere other than, like, just the heartlands of America until I heard her speaking in an interview.
Me too.
And
she's so good at it.
But it's such a weird concept to me. Like, if I can't speak any language other than English, I want to speak Spanish. If I could speak Spanish, and I could speak it with an accent that would make people go like, you're not from, like, Guadalajara? What? Then I would never not use that accent. It's just a weird concept to be able to turn on and off the perfect accent. Like... For your non-native language. Actually, I think she is a native English speaker.
She is. I was going to say she's a native English speaker, but she has a British accent because she's from Argentina, but she grew up in London.
Yeah.
So she has a London accent, but she turns it off for...
Well, she also has, like...
She has a little bit of an Argentinian
She has... Twist. I don't have a word for it, but I call them chaos accents, where, like, you just pick up a little smidge of everything until you're just kind of nonsensical.
Yeah. But no,
Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of has that. I think it's actually, like, not that uncommon an accent, but
no, it's not.
But he's just like, that's
a really good Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Anyway, love Anya Taylor-Joy. She's so good that she can do, like, a Russian accent in English. I'm talking about The Northman.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just a weird idea for me. Oh, and before we finish, I would like to recant a statement I said in the Hellraiser episode.
Oh.
I was absolutely roasted by Nika, for implying that you could just wash off makeup. I had people on our YouTube channel commenting saying that's not, you can't do it. I was wrong. I apologize. I guess I just don't get makeup.
Didn't you wear makeup on Halloween?
Not a lot. And also, I wore eyeliner and I just went to bed. Like,
And you didn't wash it off in the shower, though?
no, I didn't shower till the next morning.
Oh.
I do still have my comb is still stained white because I did like a white stripe in my hair.
It was like faded by the end of the day.
Probably because I was combing it.
I see.
Don't know. No, I don't know what it was. But...
Oh, I want to give a shout out. Actually, I met a listener at the Halloween party. Your friend Connor.
Oh yeah, Connor.
Connor came up to me so nice. He was like, "Hey, I'm Connor. I listen to the podcast. I'm a big fan." I was like, "This is really exciting to meet you." And I was like, "This is way more exciting for me to meet you."
Yeah.
But it was so nice, and I loved it.
There's a roughly equal distribution of fans of Horror Sucks and producers of Horror Sucks. If we count Joe, we might actually outnumber the fans.
Oh, for sure. But I thought it was so funny. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
So shout out to Connor.
Yeah, Connor's a nice guy.
Yeah. Anyways. And shout out to everyone else listening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If you guys meet us, you'll get a voice shout out.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, so next time we're going to be having a food-themed one, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
We do the menu, so
Oh,
catch that in theaters.
Yeah, that comes out on November 18th. So we'll be watching it and doing a 3-day turnover. Oh gosh,
okay.
We're gonna do a real fast turnover.
We'll handle it.
It'll be fine. So yeah, if you like what you hear and you listen on Apple Podcasts, make sure to like and review. If you're listening everywhere else, feel free to give us a rating. You can also find us on YouTube where we'll answer your comments. Same on Instagram at Horror Sucks Podcast. Oh, also, I know I made a comment that the website will be up last week.
This time it'll be up. We're going to do it right afterwards.
We did it right after last week,
Well,
too.
we're going to do it again.
We're having technical difficulties. If anyone has experience with Wix,
when
let
they
me know.
say it, by the time they hear this, it will be up.
Let's hope. Anyways, thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it.
And stay spooky.
Horror Sucks is brought to you by Wild Thing Media. Editing and production done by Ashley. Bye!